I knew something was wrong the moment I unlocked my own front door and heard children laughing inside. Not the distant kind of laughter you hear drifting through an open window from a neighbor's yard, but the close, lived-in sound of it. The kind that echoes off walls you recognize. The kind that belongs to a home that's been claimed. I stood there with the key still in my hand, my overnight bag cutting into my palm, listening. A cartoon played somewhere down the hall. A spoon clinked against a bowl. Someone, small feet, by the sound of it, ran from one room to another like they knew the layout by heart. And in that quiet second before I stepped inside, my chest tightened with a feeling I didn't yet have words for. Not anger, not fear. Displacement. I had driven 3 hours that morning to prepare my second home for renters. I'd brought cleaning supplies, fresh linens, a folder with paperwork tucked neatly inside. I had a plan. A timeline, a calm sense of purpose. What I did not bring was the emotional armor required to find my sister living there with her 3 children, like the house had always been hers. I pushed the door open slowly. The hinges gave the same familiar creak they always had. That sound used to make me smile. That day, it felt like a warning. "Hello." I called out, my voice careful, polite, almost apologetic. The laughter stopped. Footsteps followed. Then my sister appeared in the hallway, her hair pulled into a messy bun, my old ceramic mug in her hand, the blue one with the chipped rim. She froze when she saw me, her face shifting through surprise, calculation, and something that looked almost like relief. "Oh," she said. "You're early. Early." As if this were a visit she'd been expecting. As if I were the guest. Behind her, 3 children peeked around the corner. Her kids. My nieces and nephew. They looked at me with the easy curiosity of children who feel safe where they stand. I remember noticing the smell of pancakes in the air. Maple syrup. Butter. Home. And I remember thinking very clearly, someone has been living my life without asking me. Before all of this, before that moment in the doorway, my life had been quiet in a way that felt earned. I was 52 years old, recently divorced, and finally steady. I worked as a compliance manager for a logistics company, a job that required patience, precision, and the ability to say no without raising my voice. I'd learned those skills the hard way. My primary home was a modest 2-bedroom townhouse where I lived alone. I kept it clean, predictable, peaceful. On Sunday mornings, I drank my coffee by the window and watched the same woman walk her dog past my place at exactly 7:15 a.m. There was comfort in that kind of routine. The second home, the one I was standing in now, had been my late mother's. A small, sun-warmed house on the edge of town with creaky floors and a backyard fig tree that dropped fruit faster than you could pick it. When Mom passed, she left it to me. Not because I was her favorite, but because I was the responsible one. My sister, Lena, had never said that out loud. She didn't need to. Lena was 3 years younger than me and had lived her life like the world would eventually catch her when she fell. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it didn't. She had charm. I'd give her that. She also had a way of treating other people's stability like a shared resource. Over the years, I'd helped her more times than I could count. Babysitting. Loaning money. Covering a month's rent here. A utility bill there. I never kept score. That was my first mistake. When Mom died, Lena cried louder than anyone at the funeral. She clung to my arm, her mascara streaking down onto my black sleeve, and whispered, "I don't know how we'll do this without her." I thought she meant emotionally. I took time off work to settle the estate, clean out the house, repaint the bedrooms. I kept the furniture simple, neutral, renter-friendly. I told Lena very clearly that I planned to rent it out. The extra income would help with my retirement. She nodded along, distracted, always on her phone. "I might need a place for a bit," she'd said once, casually, like it was an afterthought. "For a bit," I'd repeated. "We'll talk about it." We never did. Life went on. Months passed. Lena bounced between apartments, boyfriends, and excuses. I stayed busy, grounded, certain that clarity was enough to prevent confusion. I was wrong. Standing there now, in the doorway of my mother's house, I saw signs everywhere. shoes lined up neatly by the wall. Too many of them. Crayon drawings taped to the fridge. A height chart penciled onto the doorframe. The fig tree out back had been trimmed, not maintained.
Claimed.
You didn't tell me you were moving in, I said quietly. Lena shrugged like we were discussing weather. It just kind of happened. Her children watched us, sensing the shift. One of them, her youngest, clutched a stuffed bear and leaned into her leg. I felt something old and familiar rise up in me then. That instinct to smooth things over. To make myself smaller, so everyone else could stay comfortable. But there was also something else. A line. Thin but visible. I'm here to prepare the house for renters, I said. Lena's smile tightened. Well, that might be a problem. In that moment, I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a test. And whether I passed or failed would change everything.